Economic planning, meaning, concept, and rationale. Greetings to you, and welcome to our class on economic planning. In this session, we shall discuss the meaning, concept, and rationale of economic planning. I am Dr. Lawrence. Let's begin with a question that has shaped economic history and continues to shape Nigeria's development today. Why do governments plan economies instead of leaving everything to markets? Think about Nigeria's fuel subsidy system or South Korea's 5-year plans. Are these examples of planning, or are they simply government interventions? This question is not just theoretical. It touches on how nations organize resources, balance efficiency with equity, and respond to market failures. To recap, we've introduced the concept of economic planning and its critical role in national development. In our next session, we will dive deeper into the different types of economic planning. See you then. Now that we understand the rationale and mechanisms of planning, we must recognize that planning is not a monolith. It varies significantly by duration, geography, and political system. In this lesson, we will categorize economic planning into 3 primary classifications: duration, the sphere of influence, and the underlying political system. First, we look at duration. This ranges from short-term annual budgets to long-term perspective plans spanning 15 to 20 years. Medium-term plans, often called 5-year plans, are the most common, providing a balance between immediate needs and long-term vision. Next, we classify by the sphere or geography of the plan, ranging from regional development to national and even international coordination. Regional planning focuses on specific areas within a country, while national planning integrates the entire economy's resources. Finally, we examine planning through the lens of political systems, the distinction between centralized and democratic planning. Centralized planning involves state command over all resources, whereas democratic planning emphasizes public participation and market incentives. Choosing the right type of planning is a strategic decision for any nation, requiring a balance between state guidance and economic flexibility. To conclude our series, we've covered the why, the how, and the diverse forms of economic planning. Thank you for joining our class. Economic planning, a deep dive into rationale and mechanisms. Welcome back. Building on our introduction, we now delve deeper into the structural rationale behind economic planning. How do we move from theory to actual coordination? Today, we examine how planning corrects market failures, mobilizes national resources, and ensures that development targets social equity alongside economic growth. At the heart of the deep dive is the concept of market failure. Specifically, when markets alone cannot provide public goods like infrastructure or basic education. We also distinguish between directive planning, common in centralized economies, and indicative planning, which guides the private sector through incentives and targets. Ultimately, economic planning is about coordination, ensuring that all sectors of the economy pull in the same direction to meet long-term national goals. To summarize, we've explored the deep-seated why and how of state planning. In our next lesson, we will categorize the different types of planning systems. Welcome back. In this step, we explore the meaning and concept of economic planning. Now that we've framed the debate, let's ask, what exactly do we mean by economic planning? Economists have offered different perspectives. Robbins described planning as the control or supervision of private activities of production and exchange. Hayek defined it as the direction of productive activity by a central authority, and he warned strongly against it, arguing that planning undermines freedom. Dalton saw planning as the deliberate direction of large resources toward chosen ends. Dickinson gave the most widely accepted definition. Planning is the conscious decision of a central authority about what to produce, how, when, and for whom. The key takeaway: planning is not just government interference. It is systematic, goal-oriented, and deliberate. Pause and think. If Nigeria sets a target for NNPC to produce a certain volume of crude oil, is that planning or intervention? How would you distinguish between the two? We look at state failure theory, where planning fixes market gaps, and dependency theory, where it breaks reliance on core economies. From Nigeria's 2021 to 2025 plan to South Korea's state-led industrialization, empirical evidence shows diverse approaches to national planning. Planning is a contested yet powerful tool. In our next step, we'll dive deeper into strategic implementation. See you there. Welcome to Step 3. Today, we explore the rationale for planning in less developed countries. In many nations, markets are fragmented and distorted. Why is planning seen as the essential corrective? Having defined planning in our last step, we now ask, why is it considered so vital for less developed countries, or LDCs? First, market failure. In LDCs, markets are often poorly organized, with distorted prices and incomplete information. Nigeria's agricultural sector in the 80s is a prime example, where planning was used to channel subsidies and credit. Pause and think. If markets fail to allocate resources efficiently, should Nigeria rely more on planning or on market reforms? Next, we address unemployment. LDCs face abundant labor but scarce capital, leading to disguised unemployment in rural areas. Centralized planning can absorb this labor by directing investment into labor-intensive industries, as seen with the NDE. Planning is also a tool to break the vicious cycle of poverty by mobilizing savings for industrial investment. South Korea's 5-year plan succeeded here, while Nigeria's attempts were often hindered by weak institutions. Fourth, resource mobilization. Planning helps allocate limited capital and manpower to priority sectors like infrastructure. Nigeria's national development plans aim to bridge these gaps, though implementation remained a challenge. Regulation is the fifth rationale, providing a framework to stabilize inflation and manage foreign trade. The Structural Adjustment Program in the 80s was one such attempt to regulate markets through planned reforms. Finally, ideology. Post-independence leaders embraced planning as a tool for modernization and distributive justice. Theoretical frameworks like state failure and dependency theory explain planning as a path to independent development. Success varies. South Korea's discipline led to industrialization, while Nigeria faced challenges with enforcement. To recap, from market failure to ideology, planning remains a contested yet powerful tool for development. We've seen why LDCs plan. In our next lesson, we'll look at the specific mechanisms of implementation. See you there. Welcome to Step 4. Today, we offer a critique and evaluate the effectiveness of economic planning in less developed countries. The answer is mixed. Planning has delivered notable achievements, but it has also struggled with profound institutional challenges. We've seen why planning is considered essential. But now we must ask the hard question. Has it actually worked? Nigeria's experience illustrates both sides. On the achievement side, we see infrastructure expansion, roads, schools, and hospitals, built through planned investment across Nigeria and India. Nigeria's first national development plan prioritized education, while South Korea transformed into an export powerhouse through its plans. However, the limitations are stark. Implementation gaps and corruption often divert resources, while external shocks like oil price collapses undermine targets. Plans often look good on paper, but fail in execution due to weak institutions and over-centralized bureaucracy that slows decision-making. Pause and think. Why do you think Nigeria's plans often failed in execution, while South Korea succeeded? South Korea's discipline led to industrialization, whereas Nigeria struggled due to oil dependence and weak enforcement. Policy debates continue. Some argue for market-friendly planning, while critical scholars suggest planning entrenches inefficiency without better governance. State failure theory highlights weak governance, while dependency theory warns that planning must break structural ties with core economies. To recap, planning remains a powerful yet contested tool. Its effectiveness depends entirely on the strength of the institutions that drive it. Has Nigeria's experience been a success or failure? Think on that as we prepare for our final review. I'll see you in the next step. Welcome to the final step. Today, we conclude our discussion with reflection and policy relevance. We've explored why planning is essential in LDCs and analyzed where it succeeds or struggles. Let's synthesize these lessons. Planning is justified by market failures and the need to mobilize resources. Yet its effectiveness depends critically on governance, institutions, and adaptability. These justifications remain valid across many less developed countries where markets alone cannot break the vicious cycle of poverty. Nigeria's experience shows the challenges of implementation, while South Korea's success demonstrates what's possible with strong institutions and minimized corruption. India's mixed results remind us that planning is neither a guarantee of success nor a futile exercise. It is entirely context dependent. Pause and think. If you were advising Nigeria's Ministry of Finance, would you recommend more planning or more reliance on markets? How can we avoid the pitfalls of the past? Theoretical frameworks like institutional economics remind us that strong institutions are the foundation for any successful planning outcome. For planning to be relevant today, it must be realistic, transparent, and deeply embedded in comprehensive governance reforms. Economic planning is both necessary and contested. Without accountability, it risks becoming a ritual rather than a transformative tool for development. As future economists, your task is to critically evaluate these roles. Here are key readings to deepen your understanding. Thank you for joining this series. Our journey through economic planning concludes here. I hope this series empowers you to shape better development outcomes. See you in the next series.